$200 is what an average American homeowner spends each season on synthetic lawn fertilizer for a quarter-acre yard. By August, much of that lawn fades back to yellow. Sitting inside most kitchens right now are five ordinary ingredients. Mixed correctly, they produce grass deep enough in color to shame any chemical-fed neighbor's lawn. Old gardening books and golf course superintendents have circulated this recipe for over 50 years. The science is real, the math behind it is surprising, and the right way to apply it depends on something almost no lawn video mentions: the kind of grass growing under your feet. Synthetic nitrogen creates green you can see, but roots you cannot trust. Here is what happens when granular fertilizer hits the ground. Grass blades absorb the salt-based nutrients through tiny pores called stomata. Color floods in within days. Underneath the surface, those same salts pull moisture out of the surrounding soil. Roots stay shallow. They have no reason to dig deep because the food sits right at the top. Within 4 to 6 weeks, the salts wash through the soil, the green fades, and the cycle starts again. Long-term damage shows up in subtle ways. After several seasons of heavy synthetic feeding, the soil itself starts to feel different: denser, harder to push a shovel into, and slower to absorb water during a heavy rain. Earthworm activity drops noticeably. The lawn that once recovered easily from a dry summer takes longer and longer to bounce back. These are the visible signs of a soil that has been chemically pressured into a kind of long-term exhaustion. How did residential lawn care end up here? The story traces back to 1913. Two chemists, Fritz Haber and Karl Bosch, developed a way to pull nitrogen straight out of the air and turn it into liquid ammonia at an industrial scale. That breakthrough fed billions of people. After both world wars ended, the same factories that had produced ammonia for munitions found a peacetime market in agricultural fertilizer. By the early 1950s, that market expanded into American backyards. A new post-war ideal, the perfect emerald lawn as a symbol of home ownership, was spread through advertising, lawn service contracts, and seed and feed industry partnerships. Companies like Scott's and ChemLawn built business models around recurring residential applications. Homeowners became regular repeating customers. The economic logic was straightforward. A one-time bag of compost is sold once. A bag of synthetic feed gets sold again every 6 weeks. That logic still drives the lawn aisle at every hardware store today. But while bagged fertilizer was taking over the front yard, a quieter knowledge survived in basements, garden sheds, and the pamphlets of organic gardening clubs. That knowledge is built around 5 ingredients sitting in most pantries this very moment. Ingredient by ingredient, the recipe was popularized by gardening author Jerry Baker, whose books became fixtures on American bookshelves through the 1970s and 1980s. 5 ingredients, each one doing a specific job. 1 can of regular non-diet soda, 1 can of regular beer, not light beer, half a cup of liquid dish soap, free of antibacterial additives, half a cup of household ammonia, and half a cup of mouthwash. These get poured into a hose and sprayer set for 10 to 20 gallons of total flow. The concentrate is never poured directly onto grass. The sprayer mixes the tonic with rushing water as it flows, diluting the concentrate hundreds of times before it touches a single blade. Application happens in the cool of early morning, around 6 a.m., when stomata sit wide open and evaporation is at its lowest frequency, every 3 weeks during the active growing season. Now the chemistry behind each ingredient: household ammonia delivers a small, instant dose of nitrogen. Half a cup of standard 5 to 10% household ammonia provides roughly 6 grams of nitrogen, a fraction of what a synthetic feeding contains, but enough to give microbes a quick chemical signal that nitrogen is available. This dose sits well below any burn threshold once diluted through a hose and sprayer. Liquid dish soap acts as a surfactant. It breaks the surface tension of water, allowing the tonic to penetrate compacted soil instead of beating up on the surface and rolling off into the street. Without the surfactant, much of any liquid would never reach the root zone where it actually does work. Mouthwash is the most debated ingredient. Old-time gardeners believed the alcohol and essential oils inside it disrupted soft-bodied pests like aphids and grubs. Modern turfgrass research does not support that claim. Diluted across 40 liters of water in a hose-end sprayer, the active compounds drop to trace levels. far below any concentration that could affect insect physiology. The honest function of mouthwash in this recipe is a mild secondary surfactant, nothing more. Many experienced gardeners now skip it entirely without losing any visible result. A successful application is straightforward to picture. The hose end sprayer hooks onto a standard garden hose. A dial on the sprayer controls the dilution rate. The concentrate sits in the sprayer's reservoir. Water rushes through, picks up small amounts of concentrate, and exits as a fine spray. A 5,000 square foot lawn should take roughly 20 to 30 minutes to cover at a normal walking pace. A few things to avoid. Never apply during the heat of midday when stomata are partially closed and most liquid evaporates before absorption. Never apply right before a heavy rain, which simply washes the tonic away. Never apply to a lawn that is visibly stressed from drought. Water the lawn deeply the evening before, then apply the tonic the following morning. And never apply to dormant grass during winter or peak summer heat for warm season lawns, because there is no active root system to receive the benefit. The two ingredients people overlook are the soda and the beer. These are not feeding the grass. They are feeding something else. That something else turns out to be the most overlooked workforce in any backyard, the soil microbiome. A single teaspoon of healthy lawn soil contains up to 1 billion bacteria. Researchers from the Earth Microbiome Project have documented tens of thousands of microbial species in agricultural and turfgrass soils. Filaments of fungi stretch through the same teaspoon, threaded so finely the human eye cannot detect them. This community is called the soil microbiome. In the narrow zone right around grass roots, a frontier soil scientist called the rhizosphere. An exchange takes place every day the sun shines. Grass performs photosynthesis and creates liquid sugars in its blades. Anywhere from 5 to 30% of those sugars get pushed back down through the roots and released into the surrounding soil. This is not a leak. It is a deliberate trade. The released sugars attract specific beneficial bacteria, and the fungi extend microscopic threads called hyphae deep into the surrounding earth. Those threads mine for trapped phosphorus, water, and minerals that grass roots alone could never reach. The nutrients get delivered straight back to the roots. A separate group of soil bacteria handles nitrogen. Ammonia oxidizing archaea and ammonia oxidizing bacteria, AOA and AOB, convert raw nitrogen compounds into the exact nitrate forms grass can absorb. Peer-reviewed research published in Frontiers in Microbiology has confirmed that healthy populations of these specific microbes are the engines of any working lawn nitrogen cycle. The same study showed that long-term, heavy synthetic nitrogen applications reduce the diversity of these microbes substantially. In other words, chemical fertilizer kills off the very organisms that would otherwise produce nitrogen for free. Nitrogen is only one of several jobs the soil microbiome handles. Phosphorus is another. Most yards contain plenty of phosphorus already, but it sits chemically locked to soil particles unavailable to roots. Specific bacteria and mycorrhizal fungi solubilize that locked phosphorus and deliver it back to the grass. A third job is disease suppression. Healthy microbial populations crowd out and outcompete root pathogens that would otherwise cause patches of brown, thinning grass. A fourth job is drought tolerance. Mycorrhizal threads dramatically extend the effective root zone of grass, giving each plant access to moisture from a much larger volume of soil than its own roots could ever explore. Every one of these benefits comes free as long as the microbes are alive and active. The Jerry Baker tonic works on a completely different principle. The sugar in regular soda, about 39 grams per 12-ounce can, and the residual carbohydrates in beer feed the soil microbes directly. The microbes multiply, they break down thatch, they aerate the soil, and they unlock nutrients that were already present but locked away. The grass gets fed because the microbes get fed first. But here is where modern lawn care gets interesting. The Jerry Baker tonic is not the only homemade microfeeder out there, and on a per square foot basis, it may not even be the most powerful one. Consider the math that nobody runs. A complete Jerry Baker tonic batch, 1 can of soda, 1 can of beer, plus the half cups of ammonia, soap, and mouthwash, gets diluted to a 20-gallon hose-end sprayer. The combined sugar load from the soda and the beer comes to roughly 49 grams. Spread across a typical 5,000 square foot lawn, the math works out to about 1/10 of a gram of sugar per square meter. Now consider a molasses drench, the technique organic gardeners reach for when they want a stronger microbial wake-up. The standard rate is 2 tablespoons of unsulfured blackstrap molasses per gallon of water, applied at 1 gallon of solution per 100 square feet of lawn. 2 tablespoons of blackstrap molasses contains approximately 32 grams of sugar. Per square meter, that works out to roughly 3.5 grams of sugar. That is about 34 times more microbial fuel per square meter than the Jerry Baker tonic delivers. This is a meaningful gap that most lawn videos never mention. The Jerry Baker tonic is a spark. The molasses drench is a meal. So which one belongs in a real lawn program? Both, they do different jobs. The Jerry Baker tonic spreads quickly across a large lawn, includes a built-in surfactant for compacted soil, and contains a small instant nitrogen dose. It is best as a regular 3-week maintenance spray during the active growing season. A steady drumbeat keeping microbial populations awake and active. A molasses drench is heavier, stickier, and meant for slower soaking application directly into the soil rather than as a foliar spray. It works best 2 or 3 times per season as a deep microbial reset. Early spring to wake the soil up after winter, midsummer to push grass through stress, and late summer to prepare roots for cool weather. Together, the two cover both the everyday rhythm and the seasonal turning points of a thriving lawn. The tonic keeps the engine running. The molasses drench rebuilds it. It is worth mentioning what other popular kitchen tonics do not deliver the same results. Compost tea, when properly aerated and brewed for 24 to 48 hours, can be excellent, but most homemade versions are mixed wrong, applied too thin, or contain too many anaerobic pathogens to be safe. Diluted milk sprays have a small role in pest deterrence, but contribute almost no microbial fuel. Banana water and vegetable scraps provide minor potassium, but nothing close to the carbohydrate density of either the Jerry Baker tonic or a true molasses drench. The two recipes covered here are the ones that consistently produce visible lawn results across decades of home gardener observation. However, there is one factor that decides whether either of these techniques even works on a particular yard: the type of grass growing in the soil. Most lawn tonic videos treat all grass as one grass. American lawns split into 2 broad families that respond to feeding on completely different schedules. Cool season grasses include Kentucky bluegrass, fine fescues, tall fescue, and perennial ryegrass. These dominate the northern half of the country. Optimal growth temperature is 60 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Peak feeding windows are spring and especially fall. A cool season lawn pushes most of its annual root growth in October. Warm season grasses include Bermuda, zoysia, St. Augustine, centipede, and buffalo grass. These dominate the southern half of the country. Optimal growth temperature is 80 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Peak feeding windows are late spring through midsummer. A warm season lawn goes dormant when soil temperatures drop below 55 degrees. Microbiological activity follows similar patterns. Soil microbes work hardest when soil temperatures sit between 70 and 100 degrees. Apply a Jerry Baker tonic in cool spring soil to a Bermuda lawn, and most of the sugars sit untouched. The grass is not actively rooting yet, and the microbes are sluggish. Apply that same tonic to Kentucky bluegrass during a cool day in October, and the result is dramatic because cool season grass is in its peak rooting phase, and the microbes still have enough warmth to respond. Here is the practical timing rule region by region. For cool season lawns, apply the Jerry Baker tonic every 3 weeks from late April through late June, then again from late August through late October. The fall window is the most important application of the entire year. That is when cool season grasses build their deepest root systems, and feeding the microbiome at that exact moment pays back in resilience the following summer. For warm season lawns, apply the tonic every 3 weeks from mid-May through August. Skip applications during cool spring and fall periods entirely. The grass is dormant or transitioning, and the microbes are not active enough to use the sugars. Molasses drench timing follows the same logic. Cool season lawns benefit from drenches in early April, late May, and early September. Warm season lawns benefit in late May, mid-July, and early September. In the transition zone, time applications to whichever grass type dominates the lawn. For anyone uncertain which grass type is growing, a few simple visual cues help. Cool season grasses generally have softer, finer textured blades, stay green well until late autumn, and tend to look thin or browned out during peak summer heat. Kentucky bluegrass forms a dense carpet. Tall fescue grows in clumps with wider blades. Fine fescue blades are needle-thin. Warm season grasses generally have stiffer, coarser blades, turn distinctly brown or straw-colored during winter dormancy, and look their best during the hottest months. Bermuda spreads aggressively through runners. Zoysia forms a thick, springy mat. St. Augustine has wide, flat, finger-like blades. The simplest test is to observe the first hard frost. Cool season grass stays green, while warm season grass turns brown. Matching the program to the grass is what separates a tonic that delivers results from one that disappoints. There is one more technique that turns even a strong microbiome program into a lawn that draws comments: the iron secret. Synthetic nitrogen makes grass grow fast. Liquid iron makes grass look magnificent without making it grow at all. This is the trick golf course superintendents quietly rely on. In alkaline soils, which describes most American lawns, iron in the ground gets locked up in chemical forms grass roots cannot absorb. A foliar spray of chelated liquid iron solves the problem. The word chelated means the iron is wrapped in an organic molecule that lets the plant absorb it directly through the blades, bypassing the soil entirely. Within 24 to 48 hours, the lawn deepens into a rich emerald color with no growth surge and no extra mowing required. Apply a chelated iron product no more than once every 3 to 4 weeks during active growth. Warning: liquid iron stains driveways and sidewalks, so always rinse hard surfaces immediately after application. Two more habits finish the picture, and both are completely free. The first is the 1/3 rule. Never cut more than 1/3 of the grass blade in a single mowing. Taller grass shades the soil, holds moisture, and naturally crowds out weeds. For most cool season lawns, mow at 3 to 4 inches. For warm season, 2 to 3 inches. The second is grass clipping recycling. Leaving clippings on the lawn returns roughly 25% of a lawn's annual nitrogen demand for free. Clippings do not cause thatch. Thatch is built-up compacted root and crown tissue, not leaf clippings. A homemade tonic, a seasonal molasses drench, and 2 simple mowing habits bring the total seasonal cost for a typical 5,000 square foot lawn to under $30. The time investment is under 30 minutes per application. The result is a lawn that holds its color from spring through fall, builds resilience every year, and outlasts the chemically fed yards on either side. This approach teaches that the strongest growth comes from feeding the unseen foundation underneath, slowly and patiently, until life takes care of the rest. If this approach changes the way you look at the soil in your own backyard, please subscribe and like the channel. We are digging deep into the secrets of nature that have been overlooked for too long. Let's grow a better future together. The next chapter of gardening wisdom will be open soon.